Why do you think it's important to offer a show covering this topic in a secondary school?
Well, a year or so ago, I thought that the sculptures that Kathryn Michaud had made were really interesting, her more recent sculptures, and I thought it would be very appealing to the students to see something that was so creative, but a little bit, as students would say, a little bit creepy. So it's something that I just thought would go, it's the right time of the year for it, and something that the students could appreciate and get ideas from.
As the show's been open for a few days now, what's been the initial reaction from visitors?
Well, last Thursday night I was in and there were some young students in here, and first thing they said is, "Oh, it's so creepy." So it was sort of the response that a lot of people get when they see the sculptures, because the eyes don't have pupils and irises and that, they're all black, so they think it's a little bit on the creepy side because of that.
Is the response different from the youth and the adults to this show?
Yes, it is. The youth sort of just react to saying it's a bit creepy and they don't understand so much. Adults find that they look at how things are made and how beautiful the garments are, the regalia, and the positions of the sculptures and that. So they just think it's kind of amazing. All these regalia were made over the years, and that they're just different from anything else they've seen here.
How would you rate this to other programs that you've held here?
The gallery is an educational gallery, and we've had professional artists in. We have them in every year, and it's a valuable tool for teachers in the school who want to have discussions about art or maybe about the message. So when teachers bring their students down, it's a really valuable tool, and it doesn't matter if it's about visual arts or something else. It could be social issues and that. They can have a good discussion with what's in the gallery. So in this case here, when we put this out to staff, we'll say, talk about the importance of art in dealing with traumatic events or difficult lives of students. How can you make that a positive thing? What awareness do the educators have about PTSD or CPTSD? I think we hear about PTSD all the time in the news with the military. CPTSD I hadn't learned about and found out that it was complex, post-traumatic stress disorder. I think with students, they all have issues, and there will be a lot of them that we don't know. We don't know about their personal lives as educators and that. So I think maybe the importance of an exhibition like this and having that discussion about issues and maybe making lives a little bit easier for some of our students is really important. And I think and allowing them to have an outlet to deal with the problems they're having, so it doesn't escalate so much later on, I think is important. So I think the arts are a really good outlet for students to express themselves without necessarily having to tell the whole story, like writing a story. So it's a different way of them to express what's happening or how they feel about what is happening or has happened to them. I think it's an important discussion for educators.
Kathryn, what prompted you to create an art installation on this topic?
It's really the topic that created the art installation, and to say a singular art installation would be wrong. It all started in 1987 with one piece that sent chills up my spine, and it's taken me since then to understand the creative process. The theme has remained the same since 1987, and I've finally understood what the creative motor is, and so it's an ever-evolving story. Different facets all the time coming up, but in the name of this show called Haunted, it is that. This creativity is haunting, has haunted me, and it's an answer to, plainly it's an answer or a response to living with CPTSD, which is complex PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
All right, that leads on to my next question. What is CPTSD, and why is it important to discuss it?
Complex PTSD is different from what we've become aware of as society, as a society. We've had a lot of exposure because of the Canadian military being involved in Afghanistan and Bosnia and on, and the soldiers coming back with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. We have to imagine that these are adults trained, and they go into a situation and they witness some horrific things that mark their psyche, and they're there among their friends, and they return among their friends, and we are aware of the trauma, the psychological trauma that they suffer. Now, if you imagine a child who is untrained, who has no buddies, who basically doesn't have a main caregiver, and they are thrust into traumatic, abusive situations, oftentimes for years, not just a single event, multiple events, and they're there, and there's no escape. There's no escape for them. There's no going home. That is CPTSD. That is complex PTSD. It is one traumatic event after another, after another, after another, for sometimes decades. Oftentimes the children are sworn to silence, or no one believes them, or no one listens. And these kids have to deal with that. We don't know enough about complex PTSD.
According to psychotherapist Mark Dworkin, in a secure and loving household, children neurologically develop a learning brain, while those who have grown up in an abusive household develop a survival brain. My question is there medical or psychological treatment people with this condition can get to help them?
I would say that, going back to PTSD again, finally the medical establishment is catching up. Primarily since 9/11, there's been a lot of fodder to study, a lot of people they could study, like mass victims, if you want to put it that way, that they could study at Mount Sinai. So the medical community is beginning to catch up when it comes to CPTSD. They haven't caught up, and it's a problem. It's an issue. It mainly resides on the right side of the brain. It's a part of the brain that does not have a communication center. It deals with memory and emotions. The trauma will live in that part of the brain. And the right brain is also very visceral, very kinesthetic, and it does influence the body, adrenaline levels, cortisol levels. It is not just in the mind. It takes the body with it. And when trauma of that type happens at a young age, literally the neurological markers change. That's the survival brain. The way the world is seen, the way the world is coped with, it's all different. It's all very different. And we as a society don't really understand it. And it's a matter of bringing it into the forum to be discussed, to identify this non-linguistic language, because it does express itself in many, many different ways, but it's not verbal. This exhibition is an example of it. The theme of this exhibition is based on dreams. When my life was a nightmare during the day, my only escape was to dream of something better. And that was my pill for a long time. And it's the regalia, and the regalia is sacred, and the regalia protects the body and makes it precious again. So it was my way of coping with the world.
Is enough being done to create awareness to spur political action?
Again, it comes down to, yes, there is now for our veterans with PTSD. Let's hope that there'll be some recognition that there is a whole substrata in society that needs just as much care to be thought of. It's little things, you know, little things. It's not the big political gestures. It's little things like taking care of a neighbor, like just checking in on them, or you know, just, you know, lemonade stands. I mean, things we used to do. We used to take care of each other in our neighborhoods, and you know, children sometimes could find solace in different ways. It's the small things that we don't do anymore as a society for each other. So eventually there will be, you know, legislation, but in the meantime, it's just caring.
Once you examine the feedback and critique your efforts, where would you wish to go next with your quest?
Okay, there's been some reaction right now from youth, which is quite interesting. I'm very interested in what the youth are thinking about this exhibition. They use the word creepy, but I mean creepy translates into haunting. So the title of this exhibition is Haunted, and it's the dreams that haunted my psyche until they were created, and then when they were created, they kind of dissipated. So it's a message that that wanted to be brought to the forefront. So the youth are feeling that. So they say creepy, but they're feeling it. So that's good. That's visceral. That's good. The other thing apparently is the attention to detail. And I do pay a lot of attention to detail. It's every minute little thing. And it's quite symbolic of what I said earlier about it's the little things that count. They are the things that when they're strung together make the pearls we wear forever. They are the things that define us moment by moment, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. It's every raindrop, you know, counts. It makes an ocean. So nothing is insignificant. Everything is of the ultimate importance. And that is the detail that I put into the work. And I have no issues with doing it. I get asked that a lot. Why so much effort? It is not an effort for me. It's important, and every tiny little bit counts. And it's, you know, it's the sum total, is greater than the whole. Is that the expression? It's everything together that makes the meaning.